This was a gift from a friend of mine named Muhammad, and so therefore I thought it would be nice to represent. When you have a real friend, you know, I think that it's nice to represent when they give you a gift. Ain't nothing. I'm recording live on YouTube. I'm gonna go another room. I appreciate you. I mean, that wasn't necessary. That's all right. That's all right. Appreciate you. So this is going to go on probably a little bit, but God is with me. So I'm here, and I have some more things from Khalil Gibran that I read last time. And so I want to share another one of his readings that I have. What's up, Breathe? How you doing? And, well, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. Absolutely. And to really screw the box up, right? I'm going to start off while wearing this is actually called a throbe. This is a throbe. It's traditional Islamic garb, basically. And yeah, so that's what it is. And I'm going to mess the box up by wearing an Islamic throbe and reading from my Bible. So I like to say what's up to the Good Soul Tribe, and seeing lots of people wearing those. Yeah, I know. Idris Alba actually wore one on some ceremony. I think it was some award show that he was a part of. They make them in so many different ways, fashion ways and things like this. So I'm not really concerned 100% about how it looks or anything like that. I want to represent my friends. So yes, absolutely. And confusing everybody, maybe something else will be unraveled and it'll become unconfused. Because the old boxes are meant to confuse us, I believe. You know. So anyway, I'm going to get into the habit of when I start off, try to go into something that will lead to like a spiritual foundation of what's to come. So I'm going to read a song. And I truly believe it's something that we can all relate to. And you, Lord, my God, I put my trust. I trust in you. Do not let me be put to shame, nor let my enemies triumph over me. No one who hopes in you will ever be put to shame, but shame will come on those who are treacherous without cause. Show me your ways, Lord. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God, my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long. Remember, Lord, your great mercy and love, for they are from of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth and my rebellious ways. According to your love, remember me. For you, Lord, are good. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore, he instructs sinners in his ways. He guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his way. All the ways of the Lord are loving and faithful toward those who keep the demands of his covenant. For the sake of your name, Lord, forgive my iniquity, though it is great. Who then are those who fear the Lord? He will instruct them in the ways they should choose. They will spend their days in prosperity, and their descendants will inherit the land. The Lord confides in those who fear him. He makes his covenant known to them. My eyes are ever on the Lord, for only he will release my feet from the snare. Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I am lonely and afflicted. Relieve the troubles of my heart and free me from my anguish. Look on my affliction and my distress, and take away all my sins. See how numerous are my enemies, and how fiercely they hate me. Guard my life and rescue me. Do not let me be put to shame, for I take refuge in you. May integrity and uprightness protect me, because my hope, Lord, is in you. Deliver Israel, O God, from their troubles. Amen. I'm telling you, like every time I'm gonna put the bookmark on that one because every time I just open up and read something up here, it's like magic. Like it directly corresponds to the stuff I'm facing. And every psalm is not written that same way. You know, every psalm doesn't have the same words in it. And I just open up and it fits everything I've been talking about, everything I've been going through. And you saw me, I didn't plan it, you know, and every psalm does not have that wording or that type of uh, prayer in it. I'm telling you, I know God is real. It's just, I don't know. Some people will just say, "Well, yeah, I know that there's people that are blessed and getting and got gifts, but you, no, why you?" They'll say something like that. But I have one in here on crime and punishment that Khalil Gibran wrote. This is not my writing. This is I had the book called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and there were just some things that I wrote down because I couldn't have the book for as long as I wanted it to. That type of book is not the type of book that you just read and give back. That's the type of book that you study. And so there were some things I had to just write down from his book so that I could study it. But then through the course of going through life and facing things, a lot of things, you lose your passion to read. You know, we get on the internet, we're doing all types of things. And when we try to sit down and read, it's like we can't focus or we don't feel like we want to, even though we know that there's such a wealth of information in books. And after we read books, if we ever have done, we know that we felt like refreshed, like we went on a magical journey somewhere, like we escaped where we were. Books are like a drug that doesn't have a negative side effect. Okay, so I have these 3 pages, and I'm gonna try to find the first page and the last because they're out of order. All right, I got the first page. And this is going to be deep, I'm telling you. So, Khalil Gibran says he wrote on punishment. Let me do that. If there can be a distraction, there will be one. I'll tell you that much. When you're trying to bring knowledge of God to people. All right, so He said, "It is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind that you alone and unguarded commit a wrong unto others and therefore unto yourself." It is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind. In other words, it's almost like you don't take control of the direction you're going in, or you don't have a direction, or you're like a leaf blowing in the wind where you just go wherever the wind goes, go wherever the excitement goes. It's like the cat with that little red light. You know what I mean? You just, this is what I want. That's what I want. Okay, I got something okay over here, but I want this over here. You're like a leaf blowing in the wind. And you merge your desires with your spirit. It is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind that you, alone and unguarded, with no protection against it, unguarded, commit a wrong unto others and therefore unto yourself. How many of us realize that if we say or do something that is a wrong on others, that we wrong ourselves? Like the current in a river. Yeah. Well, that's how life should be. We should go with the flow, but we don't see the flow a lot of times. And then that's tricky because there's a flow of society that we should probably go against. And so there has to be wisdom with that. In the ocean, there's many different currents. Depending on the time of day or season, the wind can blow the current in a completely different direction in which it was naturally meant to go. So you have to have spiritual discernment, not just go with the flow. But it's a good point. And for that wrong committed, must you knock and wait a while, unheeded, at the gate of the blessed. You postpone your own revelation. You postpone your own transcendence. You postpone your own awakening because of the wrongs that you do to others. And this doesn't change depending on if someone did you wrong. No, if someone did you wrong, they have their own path and retribution that comes to them. But if you decide to retaliate, then you have yours. It's universal justice. It's not personal. If only we understood. Like the ocean is your God self. Your God self is like the ocean, the part of you that's connected to God. It remains forever undefiled. That's the part of you that cannot be corrupted. That's the reason why you can't really totally 100% escape justice for doing wrong, because there is a part of you that is eternally connected to God, even if you decide not to see it. You will cause your own demise by the things you do to people, simply because there's a part of you that is a part of God that you can never destroy. You may have to stay high all the time to stop your conscience from making you feel terrible for what you've done. Look what happened to Judas. Judas betrayed Jesus and he couldn't take it. He couldn't live anymore. He took his life eventually. While the whole time before it actually happened, he was jumping for joy, spending the money, having a good old time about the fact that he was betraying Jesus and going to destroy him. But after it was done, wasn't too long before his conscience, the part of him that was Jesus, led him to feel so bad about himself that he took his own life. even like the sun is your God self. It knows not the ways of the mole, nor seeks it the holes of the serpent. There's a part of you that will never be satisfied being corrupt, slimy, shisty, backstabbing, backbiting, gossiping. There is a part of you thieving, lying. There is a part of you that will never accept that way of being. So while you are being that, you are in a double minded state, a state of eternal doubt, a state of disarray with yourself, a state of uncomfortability with your state self, a state of not liking yourself because you're in two minds, meaning that your energy is serving two masters. But your God self, it cannot be changed or corrupted, and it will not accept your other master. And so, therefore, your conscience will be your own demise. It knows not the ways of the mole, or nor seeks the holes of the serpent. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. Much in you is still man, and much in you is not yet man, but a shapeless pygmy that walks asleep in the mist, searching for its own awakening. And this makes sense because it's another reason why it's almost like, you ever heard of the criminal that wants to go back to the scene to see their work? They know how dangerous it is, but they'll return to the area that they got away with a crime for. They'll continue to mess with the person that they stole, robbed, or did wrong. They won't just be satisfied with the victory. Or the people that robbed a certain establishment or a place, they'll consider that a good idea to go back and try again. Why do people do that and put themselves at the risk? Is it simply because they got an overinflated ego, or is there something even behind that? Because they have another part of them that does not approve of the evil that they have done. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. It doesn't dwell alone inside of you. There's another self. Much in you is still man, and much in you is not yet man, but a shapeless pygmy that walks asleep in the midst of searching for its own awakening. Pain awakens us. And this also, though the word lie heavy upon your hearts, this also, though this is heavy to hear. The murdered is not accountable for his own murder. And the robbed is not blameless in being robbed. I have to agree with that. There was something that I did, some lack of consciousness, some lack of respect for myself, some lack of love for myself. We are not blameless in being robbed. And actually, what was said, let me read about that. Let me reread that. That was wrong, what I said about the murdered. I misread a word. So I'm going to read it again, because this is why it's so heavy on our hearts. The murdered is not unaccountable for his or her own murder. They're not unaccountable for it. The robbed is not blameless in being robbed. The righteous is not innocent of the deeds of the wicked, and the white handed is not clean in the doings of the felon. Yea, the guilty is oftentimes the victim of the injured. Oftentimes, the guilty is a victim of those they injured. They do something to somebody, they set somebody up, they irritate somebody to the point where they are pushing the buttons of a bear or a lion or somebody like that. And then they get injured because they were pushing the buttons of those people. The guilty is oftentimes the victim of the injured. And still more often, the condemned is the burden bearer for the guiltless and unblamed. More often, the condemned carries the burden for the guiltless and unblamed. Those that did nothing wrong, or those that got away with something. Those that are condemned carry the burden for those that got away. All right, let me see. This is probably the second page. You cannot separate the just from the unjust, and the good from the wicked. This is deep, man. And it's definitely something that people do not want to acknowledge or even try to wrap their mind around. For they stand together before the face of the sun, even as the black thread and the white are woven together. It sounds to me like it's talking about balance. Like you would not know good if there wasn't bad. You would not know bad if there wasn't good. It's like the birth of one requires the birth of the other. And if this is the case, and every individual's makeup is a macrocosm of the universe or the world, it stands to reason that in each one of us, you cannot separate the just from the unjust. We carry justice and injustice, every last one of us, even you. And the good from the wicked. We carry goodness and wickedness in us, every last one of us, even you. And you cannot wipe out one side without wiping out the other. In fact, I venture to say you would feel like an incomplete human being if you tried to wipe it out. Now, I'm not talking about correcting behaviors. I'm not talking about not allowing that to manifest in the world to hurt people. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about acting like you don't have that side to you. Acting like you're holier than thou, acting like you don't do anything wrong, acting like you have no wickedness, don't even recognize any wickedness in you, that type of thing. There are people that will say that they actually have no fear at all. And that's a lie, because you know what they fear? People not believing them. That's what they fear. They fear if people didn't believe them and said, "Oh, come on, you're a liar. You do have fear." And then what would they do? They would get defensive, right? Now, if someone says, "I don't have any fear," and I say, "Yes, you do," am I attacking you? But if you feel like you need to defend yourself, you only defend yourself against an attack or a perceived attack. So by me just challenging, just saying, "I don't believe you," I'm attacking you. I'm attacking you by saying, "I don't believe you." That's not something to defend. The truth needs no defense. Why would you be defensive if someone doesn't believe you and feel attacked? There's an element of fear connected to that. We fear people don't believe us. I came to the conclusion that there's always going to be some people that will never believe me. A lot of people. And so all I can do is just do what I can do. I say what I have to say and I keep it moving. I had to learn the hard way to stop looking for validation from others. People will not believe you. Maybe some will, but you cannot worry about people that don't. That's why I always say that what me saying this and sharing this with you from the bottom of my heart also has a strategic element to it. There's a plan involved in it to expose. It's not just about, "I need people to believe me." No, that's probably the least part of it, because the people that know will see it. The people around will see it. People around me will see me for who I am. People around you will eventually see you for who you are, but some people hide. And so they need a little help, you know? Okay, so for they stand together before the face of the sun, even as the black thread and the white are woven together. And when the black thread breaks, the weaver shall look into the whole cloth, not just the black thread, the whole cloth, and he shall examine the loom also, that which created the whole cloth. Hmm. And that's based on just the black thread breaking. If any of you would bring to judgment the unfaithful wife, let him also weigh the heart of her husband in scales and measure his soul with the same measurements. And this is saying, if someone is going to bring a judgment on someone who is unfaithful, whether it be wife or husband, let them also bring a scale to weigh their spouse, even if they don't have any knowledge or idea that their spouse did anything. Let's see both sides and find out if any of their motives have to do with what their spouse did. And then after we have seen both sides and thoroughly investigated both sides, then let's make our decision. Let's make our determination. So many times people will go off of appearances and see that one person seems like they're one way, but we don't really know them. And they get a jump on the other person and start going spreading the other person's business. Well, yeah, my husband did this, or yeah, my wife's doing this, and everything like that. But we have no idea what they did or even why they're telling us their personal business. There is a psychological agenda. There's an agenda. And people have elaborate ways in which they go about it. They'll start a conversation and make it seem like it's a conversation that was meant to be random or about something else, but eventually they'll go into a discussion about a specific person, and then that will take over the rest of the conversation for like a half an hour, 20 minutes, or something like that. See, the whole thing was the person was strategically doing that, but they know that they had to do it in a way in which it wouldn't be identified at the beginning of the conversation. They had to fool you, they had to trick you, and then find a way to drop this into the conversation because they had no other reason for wanting to talk to you. There are people like that. Let him also weigh the heart of her husband in the scales and measure his soul with the same measurements. And let him who would lash the offender look unto the spirit of the offended. And this is appropriate for the situation that I'm going through. As I say, tell my story and say that I want to seek justice. And I say that this person has offended me. I would expect that people should look into my soul as well, but with honesty and integrity, and see me truly, because I have been the offended, even though this also applies for people that are telling lies on you because they were acting like they were offended and got countless people to believe it and move on that. Whereas if they looked into the heart of the person that said they were offended, they may not have ever caused me as much harm. They may have saw the truth. And if any of you would punish in the name of righteousness and lay the axe unto the evil tree, let him see to its roots. This says to me, before you try to attack and destroy a person for some evil that they've done or perceived evil that they've done, look into where the evil originated from, the root of it. What is the root of it? Can the root be taken out? If we just chop down the tree, the root is still in the ground and is fertilizing things around it. No, we want to dig up the root. We want to find out what the root is, get down to the bottom of it. And that's where we find truth. And verily, he will find the roots of the good and the bad, the fruitful and the fruitless, all entwined together in the silent heart of the earth. This is a lesson for me because I also see that the person who offended me was not always an evil person, probably a very innocent, loving person at some point, and there was a corruption placed upon them that changed them. The root of a person is never just one. There's both there. There's both. And you judges who would be just, what judgment pronounce you upon him or her who, though honest in the flesh, yet is a thief in the spirit? This reminds me of something called energy vampire. There are people who present themselves as honest, but they're not working on their issues or healing from their problems, maybe even going through depression, all different type of things. And they can't be by themselves. And they find you, they tell you their stories, you're sympathetic of them, and you hang around them and you do things to help them. And after you're done helping them, you find that you have no energy for left for yourself. They didn't lie to you. You know their situation. They're legitimately hurting. It's hard for them to move or do whatever they need to do or get out of the situation at all. And so you feel like you need to help them. And you spend your life helping them, whether it's your mother, your father, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your child, your friend. And when you leave that situation, you find you have no life, no energy, nothing left for you and your dreams and your goals. Nothing. Energy vampires sometimes do not know that they're energy vampires. It's not something they're consciously doing. It is your responsibility to consciously not allow it to happen. And it doesn't matter if they don't understand it. Gotta help them get over it. Or either it's meant to teach them a lesson that maybe will lead them to get out of their own way, get up and do something for themselves like you had to do. By you doing that for them, you are basically saying that they are weaker than you, but you say you love them. By you not thinking that they can eventually get up and do what they need to do for themselves, and just basically being a support from them from the sidelines, but not doing too much, only being a support in the sense that you see them doing something to help themselves. And when they don't, then you stop being a support. So you're training them just like you would train anyone else that this is the way to get your help. Okay, if I do something for myself, if they see evidence that I'm doing something for myself, then they will help me. So the more I do for myself, the more help I get from others. This is how we have to actually train people like dogs. It's a shame, but if we don't, they will take advantage like dogs. And that comes back on us. It doesn't do anything but take away from us and stop them from growing. That's it. And we did it. We did that. Because if we weren't there, they may have actually got up off their behinds and changed their lives. How does that make you feel? Knowing that you may have been responsible for for the last 10 years of them staying deadbeats. And verily, he will find the roots of the good and bad, the fruitful and the fruitless, all entwined together in the silent hearth of the earth. And you, judges, who would be just, what judgment pronounce you upon him who, though honest in the flesh, yet is a thief in spirit? What judgment will you pronounce over them? Oh, you judge of people's appearance, of people's flaws and difficulties of speech and whatever else that you judge upon? Do you know anything of a spiritual thief? No. I would venture to guess not many judges know what a spiritual thief is. And when I say judges, I mean human beings. What penalty lay you upon him who slays in the flesh, yet is himself slain in the spirit? Hmm. Slays in the flesh. That makes me think of people that win debates against people, people that destroy people's character in the court of public opinion, people that win arguments, are very articulate, you know what I'm saying? Preachers, people that are spokesmen, talkers, in any type of competition where they win, maybe beat another person down. One of the things that we, other urban culture, can identify with is the rap battle thing, where somebody's career gets destroyed because another person, said a vicious song about them, made a couple, just kept saying vicious things about them. These are people that may be considered people that will slay the flesh, slay people in the flesh. And there's also murderers as well. Yet he himself is slain in the spirit. I don't even think I need to break that down. Winning in the flesh isn't always winning. Sometimes something is destroyed in your spirit. Sometimes you sell your soul to win in the flesh. And how prosecute you? How do you prosecute him or her who in action is a deceiver and an oppressor, yet who also is aggrieved and outraged? It makes me think, I can imagine the people that I've spoken out upon because of the things that was done to me when I was too young to defend myself or understand. I can imagine that they are aggrieved and outraged. Yet were deceivers and oppressors. And how do you prosecute those who were deceivers and oppressors in action, but yet who also are aggrieved and outraged? Aggrieved and outraged. Maybe the aggrievement represents a sense of guilt or shame for what they've done. Or maybe the aggrievement has to do with a sense of sadness because they were caught. Maybe the outrage has to do with some sort of surprise that someone even questioned them. Or maybe the outrage has to do with surprise that someone actually believed you. Outraged. And how shall you punish those whose remorse is already greater than their misdeeds? There are those of us that have done wrong, admittedly done wrong, and paid for what they did to others, openly and admittedly, and then just tried to move on with their life. They admit it, and they admit it and see it to the point where they actually made tremendous strides to change their lives to the point where people can see the change. At that point, having had paid for what they did and worked on their life to change their lives for over 2, maybe 3 decades or so, or however long that it pertains to you and your situation. And yet you still want to punish them? Even though their remorse is already greater than their misdeeds? and there's proof of it? Is not remorse the justice which is administered by that very law which you would feign to serve? You would say that you serve? If a person feels remorse for the things they do, like real, true remorse, do you really expect that they would do them again? I'm not talking about pretending to have remorse. I'm not talking about remorse that's the type of remorse so that they can get out of trouble. I'm talking about they really see that this was bad and this was wrong, and the pain that it caused others, not just the direct victims. Yeah, not just your direct victims, but the indirect victims, the victims the that are close to the family of the person that you hurt. Then there's the family of the person that you hurt that are all victims as well, because they're going to be hurt. And then there's the environment, the immediate environment that the person lives in. When they hear about what happened to the person that you hurt in that environment, they're victims as well. And then there is the people that watch the thing on the news. People that watch the thing on the news, and then they think back to the time when they might be hurt, or they start feeling like maybe they can't go out and they won't be safe. Now you victimize them too. So when you victimize one person, you don't just victimize one person. These are called indirect victims. You have countless of indirect victims. If it's a case that ends up on the news, it could be hundreds of thousands of victims that you create, depending on how bad they feel for their own safety, whatever pain they feel in their heart, whatever connection they had to the person or the person's person, or a person, if they knew someone that that person knows and is family to. The victims that you create in the world from hurting one person are unbelievable. And recognizing that is a part of remorse. It shows remorse, that you see that and that you know that. Remorse is the energy of repentance. It's the energy of not doing it again. Isn't that how we want to heal the world, make the world a better place? Do we want to destroy and condemn the people that have done something? Or do we want to heal them and make sure that it doesn't happen again? Do we just want to put all the bad people in a box over in the corner somewhere, or like of the world, like we put oil and trash in the ocean, just keep it there, and then it just erodes the earth eventually? Or do we want to do something to get rid of the poison, to make sure that it it doesn't just sit there staying poison? You have a part of the world where if you go there, the poison is just sitting there. No, you want to get rid of it, right? Yet you cannot lay remorse upon the innocent, nor lift it from the heart of the guilty. It seems like it's saying, yet you cannot lay remorse upon the innocent. What remorse would the innocent feel? You see? And then people will take that as they have no remorse. Well, maybe they didn't do it. Maybe they didn't do that. Maybe that's why you don't see any remorse. Maybe. There has to be other things, factors that go into that to let you see that. But that is a possibility. Nor lift remorse from the heart of the guilty. You can't stop, like, for instance, if somebody does something wrong and you're a part of it and you want to protect them. So you just say, no, just stay away from them and just leave them alone. And they keep on telling you, I need to go apologize. I need to go apologize. I just don't feel right. I need to go apologize. And you keep telling them, no, just leave it alone. No, don't go over there and apologize. You can't stop that person from feeling what they're feeling. They want to apologize. And they want to do that because they feel something in themselves that won't let them rest and won't let them sleep. But you're telling them, no, no, don't go over there. You're not going to be able to stop them from feeling the remorse that they feel. They feel remorse. That's what makes a person want to apologize. And there's some of us that want to stop them from feeling it. You can't. That's what it's saying here. You cannot lay remorse upon the innocent. You can't make a person that's innocent feel remorse. And you can't lift remorse from the heart of the guilty. You can't stop a person from feeling remorse when they know damn well they were guilty. Unbidden shall it call in the night. It will come upon them. Those that are guilty, remorse will come upon them, even if they don't ever feel anything eventually. That's the reason why they get high. Unbidden shall it call in the night, that men may wake and gaze upon themselves. I don't even think I have to break that down. And you who would understand justice, how shall you understand justice unless you look upon all deeds in the fullest of light? How can you consider yourself a judge, which you do consider yourself, every last human being on this earth, without seeing things from both sides? You're a corrupt judge. You're a hypocrite. You have to see things in the fullest of light, including your own misdeeds. You have to be willing to look at the things that you don't want to look at in order to be a teacher, in order to be an enlightened person, in order to grow past your pains and your weaknesses and your fears. You got to look at your effed up side and see it for real. Don't hide something from yourself because you're going to feel bad. You'll never transcend. But don't hide your good side from yourself either, because you think that people will think you're going to be arrogant or conceited. Don't do that either. Call yourself the greatest names that you can think of and don't care what anybody else says. Wear what makes you feel good about yourself and don't care what anybody else says. Only then shall you know that the erect and the fallen are but one man standing in the twilight between the night of his pygmy self, his primitive self, and the day of his God self, his transcendent self. Only then shall you know the erect, standing tall, and the fallen, laying down, are but one man standing in the twilight between the night of his primitive low self and the day of his evolved God self. And that the cornerstone of the temple is not higher than the lowest stone. In its foundation. Can you understand that? Or do you only see it one way? I think that the hallmark of a teacher is that they are not normally understood by just being seen and just being heard. They have to be explained, or they have to explain others, themselves to others, or whatever it is the topic that they teach, they explain to others. The problem is that we judges need our teachers to look a certain way that we judge is sufficient for us. But in our ignorance of understanding what a teacher is or what a judge is, we judge wrongly and hypocritically. And we base our judgment off of a superficial appearance. And based on that superficial appearance, we will decide who is sufficient for us to learn from. Sometimes it's based upon if a person teaches in a way that makes us feel good. Add some fun into our teaching, some laughing. But then you have those other teachers that, they may add fun into their teaching, but they also say some things that people feel uncomfortable. And people don't like to feel uncomfortable. So the teacher that makes people feel uncomfortable is at risk of being judged falsely, because the uncomfortability that that teacher creates might actually be enlightenment that is needed from people that have been hiding certain things from themselves because it's uncomfortable to look at or to talk about. And so therefore we rather not look at it or talk about it and not heal. Do you want a healer? Or do you want someone who just will go, bah, 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 you're healed? Healing is probably the hardest thing that you will ever face in your life. And it takes more than just giving it to God. I'll tell you that much. Way more. But that's part of it. There's a lot of personal work involved and a lot of talking. A lot of talking. A lot of talking to others. A lot of talking to yourself. A lot of looking back on situations, seeing them for what they are, feeling the pain of the betrayals and lies or whatever it is that you faced, and then accepting it, embracing it, realizing that this memory is a part of you now, forever. But that doesn't mean it has to break you. It doesn't mean that it has to break your mind. It doesn't mean that it has to break your heart. It doesn't mean that it has to break your soul. It doesn't mean that it has to change your mind. It doesn't mean that it has to make you weak. It doesn't mean that it has to make you a loser. It doesn't mean that you should be ashamed of yourself. It doesn't mean that you should think that you're damaged goods for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be sufficiently loved, right? If anyone ever finds that stuff out. It doesn't mean that you cannot be a healer. It doesn't mean that you cannot be a hero. It doesn't mean that you have a bad heart. It doesn't mean that you have bad luck. It doesn't mean that you make bad decisions all the time or nothing ever works out for you. It doesn't mean that either. It doesn't mean that the world's against you. It doesn't mean that either. It doesn't mean that you can't trust people. It doesn't mean that either. There are so many people in the world. You cannot allow your mind to take you to a place where you think that you'll protect yourself by cutting the world off. It won't work. You were meant to be someone, a being that's associated with connecting with people. Do you know that if they take a baby and they put a baby in a room by himself, eventually, even if he has all the nourishment or she has all the nourishment, if they stay alone, they will eventually die. They'll die. You cannot separate yourself indefinitely and consider yourself living. If you don't die physically, you'll die mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, which is like being dead, but being alive at the same time. That's enough to make you want to take your physical self out. So isolating yourself will only make things worse. Now, I'm talking about there is sometimes where you will feel isolated. Maybe you don't even want to be, but you will feel isolated. Or maybe you just stay to yourself for a while because you're going through a process of healing. Identify what's happening, accept it, and then move in that energy. Like, for instance, I'm in a process of healing. So, therefore, there's a process of isolation that goes along with that I have embraced. But I have not told myself that this is where I'm going to stay. I know that eventually I'm meant to come out of this. I know that that means that I have to do the work and I have to understand what doing the work looks like. For me, since I can do this, this is part of my work. Everyone can't do this, so they need to do other things. I like to read the Bible. I like to read these wise sayings. I like to write poetry. That's part of my healing process. You can do that. You can talk to people in this way. I can talk to people. I can turn the comments on or off and just make it about me talking, and that can be my healing process. That can be a part of my healing. I get it out, you know. And then there's also but when people give you feedback, that's part of your healing process too. When people say positive things back to you, that's part of your healing process too. And then there's writing poetry, writing your emotions and feelings. That's part of the healing process too. And then you maybe you go to a movie by yourself. That's part of the healing process too. Maybe for the first time you share something with someone that you never ever had the confidence to share, and maybe it doesn't directly deal with what you're actually going through. That's part of the healing process too, because you're doing things that you don't normally do, and it's not negative. So you have writing, you have reading, and then I did my music too. uh, Recording that music was part of my healing process. Listening to it again, a lot of times it's part of my healing process because it takes me back to that hurtful time and then also shows me where I am now, what I've accomplished, a reason for me to be proud of myself that I did something. So there's a lot of things you can do if you want to heal yourself, you know, working out. When I started working out heavy, that was part of my healing process. Even some of the tattoos that I put on myself, I got blessed on my neck, blessed rather. That was part of my healing process. When I got pushed to the edge in Japanese on my back, that was part of my healing process. When I got a tarot card on my stomach, and to cover up her name, uh, it was the sword Excalibur, sword of truth, which is represented by the Ace of Swords. That was part of my healing process. When I got a dragon head, traditional Chinese dragon head on my arm, that was part of the healing process. You know, just you have to have hope. You got to believe that you can heal. That's really what it's about. You got to believe that you can do something to help your situation and then just do stuff. Whatever creative idea comes to your mind, as long as it's not destructive. it's not hurting someone. Do it. Just do it. Even if you're not good at writing, just start writing something. If you don't like reading, start just finding audiobooks that talk about positive things, healing. You can just YouTube healing books or something. Healing from pain of this, healing from pain of that. You have to get creative and use your mind. I guarantee you it's out there what you can use. But you have to believe that you can be helped. And you have to understand that the healing process is not going to look like healing, like what you think. What do you think healing consists of? Think about that. And I guarantee you it's something different, probably most of the time, unless it's something that you're actually doing and you actually experience. I'm only talking about what I experience. Everything that I'm saying is things that I have done after the fact. And that's the only reason why I know they're part of the healing process, not because I'm guessing, because they're all the things I already have done. And that's the only way I know that they're a part of the healing process, because I have done them. So, are you smart for taking the advice of someone who has done the work and has shown you the results? Or are you not smart by ignoring it and saying it's not that deep, but I'll keep watching them? You know, after you watch my videos, there are so much. I give up so much jewels. I give up jewels about how to do things with music. I give up books that you can read. I give up so many things. And then there are a lot of people out there that are hurting, that I have probably expressed that I feel some of the same things that y'all been through. There is a wealth of things that can be used on these videos. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them that can help people get where I'm going. The same way to overcome evil, terrible people, to overcome your evil, terrible self, to get to the point where you actually love all of that. And then your evil, terrible self, it doesn't even look like your evil, terrible self anymore. You know, I don't feel the shame of things I've done in my past anymore. I like myself, even with my broken tooth and everything like that, not worried about it, not concerned about it. You know, even if nobody else doesn't, I don't care. I care about sharing good feelings, love, confidence, peace, God with those people, with everyone. But I'm not at some point where someone makes a joke about my tooth or my clothes or something, or how old I am and what I'm trying to do and all this other type stuff. uh, Maybe they want some sort of response, or maybe they want to know that I'm the one that they can, you know, get. It's not going to be nothing, because that stuff really does not affect me anymore. I like myself. So you don't have to like me. And I would still walk around with a smile on my face. And that's what bothers them the most, because they're saying what they're saying because they want you to feel bad. They can't get their boost if you don't feel bad. It doesn't matter who laughs. The whole room over there could be laughing. But if you don't get hurt, feel bad, do something embarrassing, do something that makes them say, look, we got them, then what? They feel stupid. They feel dumb, because the whole point was to try to hurt you. You see what I'm saying? They wanted you to express some sort of hurt. That's what would make their ego feel good. But if you don't express some sort of hurt, they feel like they're weaker than you. they feel stupid. They can only affect you in areas that you don't really like yourself. I'm telling you, they can only affect you with words in areas where you have not healed and they know about it. I'm telling you. Other than that, they're going to go away feeling like fools, feeling like straight fools every time. So, you know what I mean? It's not easy. It's not easy. Sometimes I don't even know if somebody told me this, I would really be able to do it of my own accord. Right, I'm going to take this because I'm feeling hot right now. Pretty hot in here. Yeah. But yeah, so you can't change how people are going to try to treat you, how they're going to look at you or anything. And it's not easy to heal or to deal with people ganging up on you, gangs of people, you know, especially you get in your 40s, 45, almost 50 years old, and you got gangs of people stalking you and stuff like that for no reason because of how you look or how you talk or what you're attempting to do that they don't believe that you have the right to attempt to do. Uh, Materials that you have that they don't believe that you deserve, you know, people that don't know you, never had a conversation with you. So I don't know how you deal with that from somebody just telling you, just ignore them and you'll be okay. No, the only way that I was able to overcome all of that is because I had so much experience with already being betrayed, with already feeling people around me making me feel or trying to make me feel like I wasn't good enough. My mother and father, I was already prepared. I had been prepared since a child to deal with gang stalking, gang humiliation rituals. I can go on a stage in front of 100,000 people and have people yelling and saying all types of negative things to me, and I'm not going to go crazy. I'm still going to say what I have to say as long as security holds them back. And that's because my parents prepped me for it when I was very young. So as time goes on, who knows? You may get to see it. But I shared what I had to share. I thought it was very interesting. Belittling is used, but I tell you right now, if you when you get to the end of surviving all of that, you find that you're incredibly strong, extremely strong. You know, and you may be in a position where you can teach that strength to others if they can get past how you look or how you talk or where you're from or all this other superficial judgmental hypocritical stuff. If they can get past all that, maybe they can actually learn something from you, you know, and really see it like, well, maybe God is using this person, maybe it's not about this person. You know what I'm saying? But God is always behind everything in this world. So that belittling stuff and all that other type stuff, you turn to Him for your strength because people left me no choice. They left me no choice but to have to turn to God. Everybody else was turning against me, so I had to turn to God. You know what I'm saying? Not the world, but the people that were immediately around me because they strategically did it. You know, even if people like me, They heard rumors about this, that, and the other, and I didn't know nothing about it. So what was I supposed to do when you got people working to turn people against you? Even the people that like you are going to be like, oh, let me stay away from him because I don't even know what's going on. I just know that these people are talking crazy about him. Let me go about my business. I got my own problems. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that you think the world is against you. It's that there people are actually working. People in your family, people are actually working to change people's perception of you in the world. The people that know you, the people that get close to you. Confirmation. So, that is something that is weird, but it happens. And it happens because people see that you're a threat to them in some type of way, you know? So that happened, but now this is happening, and more things are going to happen too in the future. So I thank you for joining me, and I hope y'all have a good day and relax this weekend like I am. You know what I'm saying? Because Aaron Hill is still alive. Yeah, yeah. But God always knows. Doesn't mean much to them because they don't believe in God, but we do. Yep. Treat people good, give God his props, and be your authentic self regardless of what anybody thinks. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Holla back.